I'll never forget the sound of my uncle's laughter. Not the kind that comes from joy or shared humor. The kind designed to slice through a room and make sure everyone knows exactly who holds the power and who doesn't. It was my grandfather's funeral reception. I was 22, standing in the church hall with a paper plate of food I couldn't bring myself to eat. My grandfather had been the only person in my family who believed in me. The only one who called my ambitions brilliant instead of cute. And now he was gone. That's when Uncle Richard found me. He walked over with that smirk he always wore, the one that said he owned every room he entered and everyone in it. Behind him, a cluster of cousins and relatives turned to watch. He always needed an audience for his performances. I'm Maya Chun, 27 years old, founder and CEO of Quantum Solutions, the software company that just closed a Series C at a $340 million valuation. My family still thinks I do something with computers and probably share an apartment with roommates. I own the building where that apartment would be. Because when people tell me I'm too young, too female, too ambitious to understand how the real world works, I don't argue. I don't explain myself. I don't beg them to take me seriously. I just let them find out the hard way when they need something only I can provide. If you've ever been the family joke until you became the person holding all the cards, you know exactly what I'm about to tell you. Because 5 years after my uncle publicly humiliated me at my grandfather's funeral, he sat across from me in my corner office, begging for the one signature that could save everything he'd built. And he had no idea who I'd become or where I'd end up. So Maya, Uncle Richard's voice boomed across the church hall, loud enough to make sure everyone in our section could hear. What are you doing with yourself these days? Still taking those online classes? He said online classes the way someone might say playing pretend or wasting time. Several cousins smirked. My mother's face tightened, but she said nothing. I'm working on a software platform, I said, keeping my voice steady. B2B data analytics. His laugh was immediate and cruel. B2B data analytics. He repeated it slowly, mockingly, turning to his audience. Hear that, everyone? Little Maya's going to be a tech entrepreneur. More laughter. My face burned. You know what I love about this generation? He was really warming up now, playing to the crowd. They think everything's a startup. Everything's an app. Back when men built real businesses, you needed actual revenue. Real clients. Not just a laptop and some dreams. He took a step closer, and his voice shifted into that false concern that somehow felt worse than the mockery. Maya, sweetie, I'm trying to help you here. You're a smart girl. But this tech CEO fantasy? 90% of startups fail. And women especially, let's be honest, they struggle with the technical side. The scaling. The actual business operations. He leaned against the table where I stood frozen, every eye in the room on me. What you should do is get some real experience. I could make some calls. Get you an interview for an administrative position at a real tech company. Something stable. Something realistic for someone with your background. Your background. The words hung there like smoke. Too young. Too female. Too ambitious. Too much. Community college and online courses are fine for hobbies, he continued. But eventually you need to be serious. And honestly, women like you should focus on supporting successful companies, not trying to run them. That's just reality. That's just how the world works. My cousin Derek laughed too loud. My aunt studied her plate. My mother's hand found my arm. That familiar pressure that meant don't make a scene, don't make this worse, just let it go. I own 3 logistics companies across the Southeast, Uncle Richard said, standing taller. 40 employees. 8 million in annual revenue. I inherited the first one from your grandfather, built the others through real business acumen and connections. That's what actual success looks like, Maya. Not playing around on a computer hoping someone takes you seriously. He paused, making sure everyone was still watching. They were. You'll never be anything in this industry. That's not me being mean. That's me being honest. The sooner you accept that and find something more appropriate, the better off you'll be. The silence that followed was deafening. 14 family members heard every word. Not one person defended me. Not one voice rose in my support. My mother's fingers tightened on my forearm. That squeeze communicated everything. Don't fight back. Don't make a scene. Think of the family. Keep the peace. He's just being Richard. So I didn't make a scene. I set down my untouched plate. I excused myself quietly. I walked to the bathroom where no one could see my hands shake or hear my breath come in short, angry gasps. I stood at that sink, gripping the cold porcelain, staring at my reflection. 22 years old. Mourning the only person who believed in me. Humiliated in front of my entire family. Told in no uncertain terms that I would never be enough. But something shifted in that moment. Something cold and clear and permanent. I remembered what my grandfather had told me 2 weeks before he died. We'd been sitting in his study, and he'd pressed an envelope into my hands. Inside was a check for $25,000 and a note in his shaky handwriting. Don't build a life others approve of. Build one you respect. They'll underestimate you until the day you don't need them anymore. Make sure that day comes. Standing in that bathroom, I made myself a promise. I would prove Richard wrong. Not for him. I didn't owe him anything. Not for my family, who sat silent while he tore me apart. For me. For my grandfather, whose faith in me deserved to be honored. I would build something so undeniable that Richard's laughter would die in his throat. Not someday. Starting right then. The first year was hell. I worked 50 hours a week as a junior analyst at a consulting firm, then came home to code until 3 in the morning. I lived on coffee and determination. I built my first prototype in 4 months, a data analytics dashboard for small businesses trying to understand their operational vulnerabilities. 17 companies signed up. Then the platform crashed, and I lost all 17. I started over. I applied to 62 accelerator programs, pitch competitions, and seed funding opportunities. I got 62 rejections. Some nights I'd sit in my studio apartment with the broken heater and the neighbor who screamed through the walls at 2 a.m., and I'd look up Uncle Richard's LinkedIn profile. VP of Business Development. 3 companies. Industry awards. Everything I was told I could never achieve. Then I'd open my grandfather's letter and read it again. Every single word. And I'd keep building. Year 2, something clicked. I'd been tracking a problem I kept seeing at my consulting job. Mid-sized companies couldn't get real-time visibility into their supply chain risks. Every existing platform was either prohibitively expensive or so complex it required a dedicated IT team. So I built something stupidly simple, a dashboard that aggregated public and private data sources, ran them through a predictive risk algorithm, and gave you a score you could actually understand. I released it for free. Within 3 months, 400 small manufacturers were using it. Within 6 months, 1,200. I added a premium tier with deeper analysis and custom reporting. Monthly recurring revenue hit $6,200. Not life-changing money. Not quit your day job money. But it was proof. Undeniable, mathematical proof that I wasn't building fantasies. I was solving real problems that real businesses would pay real money to fix. And that changed everything. Year 3, a venture capital firm I'd never heard of reached out. The email looked like spam. We've been tracking your growth metrics and would love to discuss a potential investment. I almost deleted it. But the partner's name was familiar. I'd seen her quoted in TechCrunch and Forbes. Against my better judgment, I took the meeting. 4 weeks later, I had $850,000 in seed funding at a $4.2 million pre-money valuation. I quit my consulting job the next day. The look on my boss's face when I gave notice, surprise mixed with something like respect, almost made the previous 3 years of exhaustion worth it. I hired 3 engineers, a head of sales, and a customer success manager. We moved into a small office in downtown Raleigh. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't coding alone at 2 a.m. in a freezing apartment. I was building a real company with real people who believed in the vision. My studio apartment suddenly felt too small. Not because of the money. I was barely paying myself. Because I finally had room to breathe. Room to build something that could actually scale. By year 4, everything accelerated beyond anything I'd imagined. Team size, 48 people across engineering, sales, customer success, and operations. Client base, 2,300 companies across 14 countries. Annual recurring revenue, $11.7 million. TechCrunch ran a feature story. How one founder is democratizing enterprise analytics. Forbes named me to their 30 under 30 list in enterprise technology. I did a panel at SASTR Annual, gave 3 podcast interviews, and spoke at 2 industry conferences. I moved into a loft in the warehouse district, exposed brick walls, floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of space I used to walk past and wonder who could possibly afford to live there. I bought exactly 3 pieces of furniture. A really good mattress, a desk, and 1 piece of art that cost more than my first car. I never posted about any of it. Not on LinkedIn. Not on Instagram. I didn't attend family Thanksgiving. Skipped Christmas. Sent cards with generic updates, nothing specific. I stayed invisible by choice. Because I wanted the reveal to be undeniable. No room for doubt. No chance to minimize or explain it away. Just cold, hard mathematical success that couldn't be dismissed as luck or timing or anything other than what it was. Year 5 we got acquired. Not fully. I kept 51% equity and complete CEO control. But Tech Venture Holdings bought in at a valuation that put Quantum Solutions at $340 million. The deal closed on a Tuesday morning. My equity stake, 8 figures. Liquid. Real. Life-changing in every possible way. They offered me a corner office on the 42nd floor of their downtown headquarters. Floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking the entire city. My name on the door in brushed brass. An executive assistant named Jordan who managed my calendar and made sure I actually ate lunch. Security required badge access to reach the executive floors. The Quantum Solutions logo took up an entire wall in the marble lobby. Conference rooms named after famous mathematicians. Everything I'd built now scaled beyond anything my 22-year-old self could have imagined. I was 27 years old. My family still thought I did something with computers, and probably had roommates. My mother had asked last Christmas if I'd found a nice, stable corporate job yet, or if I was still doing that startup thing. I never corrected her. I was waiting. And then, on a Thursday afternoon in October, my phone rang. Unknown number. Texas area code. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. This is Maya. Maya. Hey. It's your Uncle Richard. My spine straightened involuntarily. For years since I'd heard that voice. For years since my grandfather's funeral. The tone was different now. Forced cheerfulness with something desperate underneath it. What do you need, Richard? A pause. He'd expected pleasantries, small talk, the social niceties that would let him ease into whatever this was. Well, how have you been? Haven't seen you at any family gatherings in forever. Your mom says you're still out in Raleigh doing the tech thing. What do you need, Richard? I repeated. Another pause, longer this time. Then the facade cracked. Listen, I need a favor. A business favor, actually. I'm dealing with something kind of complex, and I heard through the grapevine that you might be able to help. It's pretty urgent. I let 3 full seconds of silence stretch between us. My office. Thursday at 2. Your office? Where? I ended the call. Set the phone face down on my desk. Returned to the contract I'd been reviewing like nothing had happened. But Jordan had seen my expression. Everything okay? She asked. Someone's about to learn a very expensive lesson, I said. Clear my Thursday afternoon. And make sure the conference room on 42 is available. I want him to see everything. Thursday, 1:47 p.m. I stood at my office window, 42 floors above the city, watching a silver Lexus pull into the visitor parking garage. Richard stepped out, stood for a moment staring up at the building. The Quantum Solutions logo covered 3 stories of the glass facade. Impossible to miss. From this height, I could see him check his phone. Look at the address. Look at the building. Look back at his phone. His body language screamed confusion, disbelief. He was trying to reconcile something that didn't make sense in his worldview. I watched him walk toward the entrance. Watched him disappear into the lobby. Pulled up the security camera feed on my second monitor. The lobby was designed to impress. 30-foot ceilings, marble floors, a sculpture in the center that cost more than most people's houses. The Quantum Solutions logo behind the reception desk in brushed steel, 15 feet tall. Richard approached the desk. The receptionist, Chloe, professional and utterly unimpressed by visitors, directed him to the executive elevators. He needed a guest badge. Had to surrender his driver's license. The elevator required badge access for floors 40 through 45. I watched him in the elevator camera. He adjusted his tie 3 times. Looked at the floor directory. 43 employees listed just for the executive level. His warehouse offices back in Houston had linoleum floors and fluorescent lighting. This building had a sculpture in the lobby worth more than his annual revenue. The elevator rose. 40 floors. 41. 42. The doors opened. Jordan stood as Richard stepped into the reception area. "Mr. Whitlock? Ms. Chin will see you now." I heard him before I saw him. His footsteps stopped. Just stopped. I looked up from my computer screen. He stood in the doorway, frozen. Taking it all in. Corner office. Floor-to-ceiling windows on 2 walls. Conference table that seated 12. My degrees and awards in frames on floating shelves. MIT, Forbes 30 Under 30, TechCrunch Disruptor Award. My name on the door in brushed brass. Maya Chun, founder and CEO. Behind my desk, me. Hair up. Blazer. 2 monitors displaying real-time platform analytics. A 3rd screen showing code review. His eyes found mine. I watched the recognition hit him. Then the recalculation. Then the realization that crashed over him like cold water. The color drained from his face. "This is..." His voice cracked. "This is your company." I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Not an invitation. An instruction. "Sit down, Richard." He sat slowly, like someone who'd just been hit, and was still processing the impact. 15 seconds of silence. I counted them. He stared at me. At the view behind me. The entire city spread out like a map. At the monitors. At the awards. Back at me. Trying to reconcile the Maya from 4 years ago. The one at the kids' table with the cute startup idea. With this reality. I waited. I'd gotten very good at waiting. Finally, he broke. "I need help." The words came fast, tumbling over each other. "The business, my logistics companies, they're struggling. Healthcare systems are consolidating, buying direct from manufacturers. We're getting cut out. I tried building a digital procurement platform. Spent $400,000 with a dev shop in Austin. It crashed after 6 weeks. I've lost 4 major clients in the last 18 months. He leaned forward, desperation seeping through every word. Revenues down 41%. I'm hemorrhaging cash to keep warehouses I can barely fill. My banks are getting nervous. And then I heard about your platform, Quantum Solutions. I looked into it. It's exactly what I need. Real-time supply chain visibility, risk analytics, predictive modeling. He pulled a folder from his briefcase. Slid it across my desk with hands that shook slightly. I need a custom integration. Exclusive regional rights for medical device distribution in the Southeast. I know it's a big ask, but I'm willing to pay premium rates. Triple your standard pricing. Whatever it takes. His voice dropped. This could save everything I've built. The folder sat between us. I didn't touch it. I just looked at him. Let the silence stretch. Watched him squirm under the weight of his own desperation. And then I spoke. "You know what I remember about my grandfather's funeral?" His jaw tightened. He knew exactly where this was going. 4 years ago, in that church hall, you asked me what I was doing with my life. I told you I was building a B2B analytics platform. Do you remember what you said? Maya, look. You said women like me should focus on supporting successful companies, not trying to run them. You said that in front of 14 family members, including my mother. You laughed. That performative laugh you do when you want everyone to know you're the smartest person in the room. And everyone laughed with you. I was trying to. You said I'd never be anything in this industry, that I should get real experience in an administrative role, something appropriate for someone with my background. You said women especially struggle with the technical side, with scaling, with actual business operations. My voice stayed level. Calm. Clinical. You weren't trying to help me, Richard. You were performing. You needed an audience to watch you put me in my place, to remind everyone, especially me, where I belonged in the family hierarchy. Young. Female. Ambitious in ways that threatened you. I leaned forward slightly. And now you're sitting in my office. The corner office I earned in the company I built, worth more than $300 million. You're asking for my help, needing my signature, needing access to my technology, my platform, my client relationships, my expertise. His face had gone from confident to pale to something close to gray. Needing me to save the business you were so certain I could never understand. Silence. 7 full seconds. I counted them. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair. His breath came shallow. He looked at the folder, at me, at the window showing the city spread below us, anywhere but directly into my eyes. I didn't move, didn't blink, just watched him process every word, every callback, every power shift that had occurred in the 4 years since he'd humiliated me. The air conditioning hummed. 42 floors below, traffic moved. In this office, nothing moved at all. Finally, he spoke. I'm sorry. The words sounded like they'd been dragged over broken glass. His voice cracked. His shoulders collapsed inward. For years of arrogance deflating in 2 syllables. I didn't respond. Didn't accept. Just waited. He needed to fill the silence. They always do. I was wrong. He said it again, clearer this time, like he needed to hear himself say it. I was an arrogant, sexist fool. You built something incredible. Something I couldn't have built. Wouldn't have even recognized as possible. I was too busy performing, too invested in being the family success story, too threatened by the idea that you might actually succeed where I told everyone you'd fail. His eyes were wet now. Not crying, but close. I didn't see you, Maya. I saw a narrative I wanted to believe. Young woman, ambitious, probably in over her head. Easy to dismiss. Safe to mock. I was too blind and too small to see what you were actually capable of. He looked at his hands, still gripping the chair. Your grandfather saw it. He tried to tell me once. Said you had something special. I laughed at him too. God help me, I laughed at him. The admission hung in the air. I reached for the folder. Finally. Opened it slowly. The pages were thick, professionally bound. Proposal for exclusive partnership. I read it. Didn't skim, actually read every word. 28 seconds of silence while I reviewed his terms. His proposal was desperate. Premium pricing. $2.7 million for a 3-year exclusive contract. Triple my standard rate. Equity options. Board advisory position. Payment terms that front-loaded everything, so I'd get paid even if his business collapsed. Every negotiation point tilted in my favor. He was offering me everything he had. I closed the folder. The sound seemed loud in the quiet office. He watched my face, trying to read my decision in my expression. I gave him nothing. Then I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a different folder. I'm going to help you. The relief that flooded his face was immediate and total. His shoulders dropped. His eyes closed briefly. His exhale sounded like he'd been holding his breath for days. For exactly 2 seconds, he thought he'd won. But not because you deserve it. He froze mid-relief. Not because we're family. Not because I owe you anything. But because that's not who I am. I leaned back in my chair. My grandfather believed in giving people real chances. Not condescending offers of administrative jobs. Real chances. He gave me one when nobody else would. Especially not you. I slid the standard quantum solutions contract across the desk. So I'm going to give you this contract at fair market rate. Not your desperate triple pricing. Standard 3-year engagement. $975,000. Performance metrics. Professional terms. I'm doing this because it makes good business sense, your client network is valuable, and the integration is technically interesting. And because I want to be the kind of person my grandfather thought I could be. Richard looked at my standard contract. Looked at his folder with the desperate offer. He was going to save almost $2 million because I refused to take advantage of his desperation. He didn't understand. I could see it in his face. I wasn't going to explain. But Richard, let me be absolutely clear about 3 things. I counted them on my fingers. 1, you don't get to take credit for this. Not with clients, not with family, not in your own head. This is my company, my technology, my success. You don't get to rewrite that narrative. 2, you don't get to tell people you always knew I had potential, or that you saw something special, or any version of revisionist history that makes you feel better about how wrong you were. You didn't see it. You actively tried to kill it. 3, you don't get to position yourself as some kind of mentor figure who helped shape my path. What you said to me that day almost broke me. It took everything I had not to believe you. Not to accept that maybe you were right about my ceiling, my worth, my capabilities. I held his eyes. Do you understand what I'm saying? Your words almost killed this. Almost killed me trying to build it. The only reason I'm sitting here is because I fought through what you said, not because of anything you did. His eyes spilled over. He nodded. Once. Twice. Couldn't find words. My face stayed neutral. This wasn't forgiveness. This was boundary enforcement. And one more thing. I leaned forward. The next time you see someone like I was, someone young, someone female, someone trying to build something you don't immediately understand, don't mock them. Don't dismiss them. Don't perform for your audience at their expense. My voice stayed quiet but firm. See, don't tell them what they can't do. Don't offer them lesser roles, as if you're being generous. Don't make them feel small so you can feel big. I slid a pen across the desk. Mont Blanc. Heavy. Expensive. Because you never know who they'll become. You never know when you might need them. Or when they might be the only person who can save what you've built. I tapped the signature line. Sign here. His hand shook as he picked up the pen. Just slightly. But I saw it. He signed on page 12. Initialed pages 3, 7, and 19. The sound of pen on expensive paper. 3 times. 4. 5. Done. He set the pen down carefully. I pulled the contract back across the desk. Slid it into my folder. Closed it. Work complete. He stood slowly, like someone much older than his 54 years. Like someone who'd just survived something that changed him. I didn't stand. Didn't offer my hand. Just watched him gather his briefcase, his phone, whatever dignity he could salvage. He walked to the door. Each step careful, deliberate. His hand touched the brushed steel handle. Stopped. He turned back. Not all the way. Just his head. His profile. Thank you. Quiet. Genuine. I mean that. Thank you for being better than I was. A pause. Then. Your grandfather would be proud of you. He'd be proud of who you became despite. He didn't finish. Couldn't finish. Despite me. The words hung unspoken but understood. I didn't respond. Didn't smile. Didn't nod. Didn't offer any of the social niceties that would make this easier for him. I just watched him. Let him sit with the discomfort of gratitude he hadn't earned but desperately needed to express. The door opened with a soft sound. He stepped through. It closed behind him with a quiet, final click. I could see him through the glass walls, walking past Jordan's desk, past the conference rooms toward the elevators. Jordan glanced at me, saw something in my expression, said nothing. Elevator ding. Doors open. He stepped in. Gone. After he left, I stood at the window, looking out over the city. 42 floors up. Raleigh spread below me in the late afternoon sun. Office buildings catching golden light. Traffic on Fayetteville Street looking like toys from this height. The Capitol Dome 3 blocks east. Construction cranes dotting the skyline like promises of growth. Everything moving. Building. Becoming. I thought about that day 4 years ago. About standing in that church hall with a plate of food I couldn't eat. About Richard's laugh, designed to cut, to diminish, to remind me of my place. About 14 family members who heard every word and said nothing. About my mother's hand on my arm, that silent plea for peace at any cost. About being 22 years old and feeling like I was 12. About the promise I made in that bathroom, hands gripping the sink, mascara smudged from tears I wouldn't let anyone see. I'd kept that promise. Not by becoming someone Richard would approve of. Not by proving him wrong for his benefit or for the satisfaction of revenge. But by becoming someone I could respect. Someone my grandfather would have been proud of. Someone who could help even when it wasn't deserved, who could enforce boundaries while still choosing grace, who could be powerful without being cruel. The sun caught the glass of the building across the street. Somewhere in this city, someone else was probably being told they'd never be anything. That their dreams were too big. That people like them didn't succeed in spaces like this. I hoped they'd prove those people wrong too. I hoped they'd build something undeniable. And I hoped that when they did, they'd remember that the only signature that ever really mattered was the one they gave themselves. The approval to keep building, keep fighting, keep becoming who they were meant to be, regardless of who believed in them. Because in the end, that was the only validation I ever needed. That was the only signature that ever really mattered.